everyone, it's Mystic Jack from Cultaholic.com after my flawless prediction of that NXT Women's title match at TakeOver in your house. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, so I had to just shoehorn that into the introduction. No, this is all about wrestling news. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, a SmackDown superstar appears to have teased a new gimmick. Next up, exciting news from New Japan, who've announced their return, including a tournament and an unannounced mystery card show. And finally, a bizarre war of words has erupted between a WWE and an AEW star online. So yes, first of all, a SmackDown superstar appears to have teased an entirely new gimmick change, a character overhaul, if you will, and it's none other than Ross's favourite, Tamina. But there's an issue here because Tamina posted this video to Twitter last night and it had a whole different character to her. I'll get into that in just a second. But the video has now been deleted and you can't find it on her Twitter feed. For whatever reason, the video has now been taken down, which casts a doubt, I suppose, on whether this gimmick change is actually going to happen, whether she was meant to allude to it yet, whether it's going to happen in the future. It kind of throws up more questions than answers, really. So first of all, let's take a look at the content of the video. Tamina is in a straitjacket. She's in what is implied to be some sort of like mental hospital. She's cackling a lot. She's crying at times. There's a lot of jarring cuts. It comes across as a very manic and arguably very creepy vibe, similar in some ways to the Fiend Bray Wyatt. There's like gentle, soft children's music playing in the background, which contrasts entirely with what we're seeing in front of us on the screen. The video was accompanied with text which read, "After my devastating loss at Money in the Bank, where she lost to Bayley in that women's championship match, the SmackDown Women's Championship match, and 10 years of being used and abused, it has finally happened, the trepidation." So I think what Tamina's implying here is that she's finally cracked. She's undergone some sort of mental transformation as a result of basically not meeting much success over the past decade, as she says. And it seems like this loss against Bayley is meant to be her character's trigger point, I guess. That's what's caused this brand new outlook, this really sinister change in attitude. But yes, as I mentioned, that video has now been deleted by Tamina. It's not on her Twitter feed any longer. I can think of maybe two reasons for this, and I'll speculate on them both. First and foremost, I think one reason could be just, this was my initial gut reaction when I saw that the video had been deleted. A classic sort of case of the Zack Ryders, basically WWE saying, no, you're not allowed to get yourself over in any sort of extracurricular fashion outside of what we have set for you. You're not allowed to get over unless we make you over, is essentially the point I'm getting at here. And that would be a shame for Tamina. That would be very disappointing and frustrating indeed, especially because she was doing the best character work of her career in the build-up to that match against Bayley, and it seemed a lot of it to be off her own back. So there's always the chance that WWE could have seen this video, which they potentially hadn't even authorized, and thought, that's a step too far, we can't let you get away with this free reign any longer. Take the video down and we will progress your character as we see fit. And if this is the case, then once again, that would be a tremendous shame for Tamina, and we do often see in the modern era WWE superstars apparently punished or held back for trying to go out on a limb and do things their own way. However, the second reason that I think this video could have been taken down is because maybe WWE or Tamina, whichever party, wanted to avoid criticism. Where would the criticism lie? Well, just from having seen the video myself, I believe that, it could have raised a bit of criticism to do with a negative portrayal of mental health issues. Tamina was in a straitjacket. She was acting stereotypically crazy. She was having big mood swings throughout the video, crying, laughing, screaming, just saying mumbled stuff and talking as if in a trance quite a lot. And I feel like potentially, had this video stayed up much longer, then maybe people would have gotten a bit annoyed about that, about this kind of stereotypical portrayal of a quote-unquote mad or insane person. But whether either of those reasons I've suggested are true or not, the fact remains that the video has been taken down, and we're going to have to wait and see whether this gimmick change actually happens on SmackDown, whether Tamina will indeed undergo a bit of a character transformation. Moving on now to New Japan news. Very exciting news indeed for fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling, as they have officially announced their return. Various promotions in Japan have been running empty arena shows, and New Japan has not been one of them. So this is quite a seismic occurrence in the current lockdown era of things. And I think there are three key parts to New Japan's announcement here. The first one coming on June 15th, which is the Together Project show. And from what I've seen online, this show seems to serve as a bit of a celebration, a coming together for New Japan's return to the wrestling circuit. But the crucial twist here is it's a mystery show. No matches will be announced until the opening bell. Very intriguing stuff there. I'm excited to see what happens. Another crucial thing to note is that that show will take place in front of no fans. And in fact, just take that for granted unless I specify that these shows are happening in front of fans. Everything I mention, unless I say so, is listed as an empty arena show. So following on from that, the day after it even, on June 16th, we see the beginning of the New Japan Cup 2020, a tournament which would, of course, have already been long completed by now, were it not for the ongoing situation. This tournament will stretch from June 16th all the way to July 3rd, and then a week after that, we'll get the final event on July 11th. So basically, from June 16th till July 11th, we're going to be seeing tournament action dotted around all over the place, with quite a few runs, actually, of consecutive shows here and there. It's looking like a fairly packed schedule for New Japan. The only show out of the New Japan Cup schedule to be wrestled in front of a crowd is that final show, that Saturday, July 11th show at Osaka-jo Hall in Osaka, which is going to take place in front of 1/3 capacity of the building's allowance. And then the day after that, so it seems as though Osaka-jo Hall are going to be running a double header. So on July 11th, as I mentioned, there's going to be the final of the New Japan Cup in front of 1/3 capacity, and then in front of a similar 1/3 capacity on Sunday, July 12th, the day after, it's going to be Dominion. If you didn't know, Dominion is one of New Japan's biggest shows of the year, probably their second biggest. It's kind of their SummerSlam equivalent if we count January's Wrestle Kingdom as the WrestleMania equivalent. Now I think we should concentrate on the structure of the New Japan Cup. It's single elimination knockout as it usually is, but there's some crucial differences here and there. This tournament features a mixture of heavyweight stars, which is what it normally is exclusively, junior heavyweight stars as well, and then a few young lions in there too. So finally, to end this segment of the news, I'm going to just run through all of the opening round matches. So we start things off with Togi Makabe taking on Yota Tsuji, a young lion. We've got Tomohiro Ishii taking on El Desperado. Toru Yano versus Jado, which should be a comedy match. Tomoaki Honma, someone I've not really thought about for a while, taking on Hiromu Takahashi, the ace of the juniors division at the moment. Kazuchika Okada taking on the man who betrayed him, his old manager Gedo. That should be unique. A big dad battle follows that with Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki. Another young lion, Yuya Uemura against Yoshinobu Kanemaru of Suzuki Gun. Gabriel Kidd, WCPW original Gabriel Kidd, taking on Taiji Ishimori of the Bullet Club. Wow. And the last few, Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Taichi, Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr., another clash between those two, Raisuke Taguchi taking on Sanada, Sho versus Shingo Takagi. In last year's Best of the Super Juniors, they had one hell of a matchup. Hiroyoshi Tenzan versus Yoshihashi, Yo versus Bushi, Satoshi Kojima versus Evil, and Hiroki Goto versus Yujiro Takahashi. Next up, a NXT superstar has fed into speculation of their impending call-up to Monday Night Raw. It's already been reported on quite extensively by various different news sources, but this is the first example of that superstar in question engaging with this speculation himself. The superstar in question is Dominik Dijakovic, who has been heavily reported as being about to debut on Monday Night Raw, just as Matt Riddle is about to debut on SmackDown as well. It seems as though those two have been called up together in opposite little directions. And the fact that Dijakovic did not feature in the build-up to TakeOver in Your House, or indeed the show itself at all, seems to at least go a little way towards confirming this. And now Dijakovic seems to have gone even further in confirming this. Not wholly, not fully, but I'd certainly be surprised if he wasn't called up after all of this. He took to Twitter and tweeted out a picture of Seth Rollins. Now, of course, this could mean one of two things. One, if you're not following Raw, you might be led to believe that Seth Rollins is Dijakovic's first big #1 target. He's going to take out Seth Rollins and establish himself instantly as a major player on Monday Night Raw. But then there's the second possibility, which I find quite a little bit more intriguing, which is that Dijakovic could be saying, here is Seth Rollins, I want to be in his stable. Because if you've not been following Raw, Seth Rollins, who is of course a heel, has been kind of recruiting people, kind of recruiting lost souls to his little stable. Originally the stable was comprised of the AOP and Buddy Murphy, or just Murphy, excuse me. I always put his first name in there because it's stupid that he lost his first name. But it was Rollins, the AOP, and Murphy. The AOP are obviously on the sidelines at the moment, so then it was just Rollins and Murphy as like a tag team, until recently Rollins also welcomed Austin Theory into the group because Theory had just recently been kicked out of Zelina Vega's stable. So now we have Rollins, Murphy, and Austin Theory. Three incredible wrestlers, but not not the biggest guys around, certainly not the monsters of the WWE landscape that we occasionally see roaming around. Dominik Dijakovic, though, if you're familiar with him, is a monster. He is huge. He's a very tall man, very powerful, and very agile as well for his size in a terrifying way. I think he would be just a perfect fit for Seth Rollins' group. He's got the size and the natural intimidation factor and the menace to be a great heel in that group, and also has the wrestling ability to put on some great matches as part of that collective, whether they be singles matches where he's just representing the group, or tag matches, or big, 4-on-4 matches, anything you want. Dijakovic can pretty much do it. So that's why I'm hoping that Dijakovic is basically going to become the Batista of Rollins' stable. I think that would be just a wonderful little addition to the group, and a great way of hopefully building him up for an eventual Batista-esque face turn, where he just mashes Seth's smug little face into the canvas. Seth's a really good heel because I'm getting really annoyed at him. But whatever Dijakovic ends up doing, I'm sure he has a better chance of success on the main roster than many other very skilled wrestlers who have been called up from NXT simply because of his size. It'll give him a massive advantage in the rather traditionalist eyes of Vince McMahon. And finally, a WWE star and an AEW star have engaged in a bit of a war of words on the old Twitter-rooney. It's not the first time we've seen this, but it is the first time we've seen this from these particular stars. And it's all about that classic wrestling social media bone of contention, the stolen move. So this all started when Brian Cage posted a video of himself hitting the turnaround. So right, he's on the second rope, he jumps up to the top rope, turns around and hits a moonsault. And from there, fans in his mentions started accusing him of stealing the move from Lacey Evans. A few points there that make this a bit of an inaccurate argument. First of all, Kevin Owens has been doing that move for absolutely years, and even further back, Mark Miro made the move famous as the Miro Salt. But to the surprise of many, Lacey Evans got involved herself. Now, she didn't, crucially, claim that she had invented the move. That would be ludicrous. Lacey Evans is still relatively new in her wrestling career, and I'm absolutely 100% certain that she knows that she didn't invent that move. But what she did say was that she didn't know who Brian Cage was. She called him a nasty. She said she's 4 years in the game and is doing it better than he is. Don't make me lose my manners, sweetheart. Now, Brian Cage responded to this. She was quite rude to him there, wasn't she? But Brian Cage responded to this seemingly unprovoked attack by replying with a video of him doing the move many years ago and saying, "There you go, sweetheart," mimicking what she'd said to him. Now, I don't know if he thought that she was claiming ownership of the move, but judging by what her fans were saying, I can understand why he might have thought this. But then Lacey came back saying, "Listening to random nasties fight over who created a move I never claimed to own, he got him." Now that is a bit of a weird argument, isn't it? We've had arguments on Twitter between wrestlers before where they've been sticking up for the ideals of their respective companies, WWE and AEW, not over the ownership of a springboard turnaround moonsault, which is a little bit weird. But then again, wrestlers do get precious sometimes, or certain wrestlers get precious over certain things. And I do have to say that I'm kind of on Brian Cage's side here. He was attacked for no reason, and Lacey Evans just came in and sided with her fans at first and said, "Yeah, F you, Brian Cage." And then he said, "Look, you didn't invent the move, if that's what you're saying." She said, No, I know I didn't invent the move, but random nasties are fighting over that point." She called her own fans random nasties there? I don't know. I'm going to stop criticising her this instant, just in case her fans then come for me and claim that I've stolen like the women's right or something, because I just did it there. So that's it for this news video. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. My recommended match for today, I feel like I should pick a New Japan one because New Japan have announced their return and it's tremendously exciting. I'll go for one of my favourite matches of New Japan's calendar last year. Now everybody knows that Will Ospreay versus Shingo Takagi was an excellent match and was voted by many people as the best match of 2019. It was the final of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. Not long after that, in fact I believe it may have been at Dominion. I think it was Dominion 2019. Ospreay had another match against Dragon Lee, which I personally thought was actually better than the Takagi match. Now I know that's an unpopular opinion and a lot of people actually prefer the Shingo one, but I prefer that Dragon Lee one, so I'm going to recommend Will Ospreay versus Dragon Lee. Thank you very much for watching this video. Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'm sure you will, with no prompting required. And yes, stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.